This is the tale of two brothers, bounded by an unlikely fate. You see, for generations there were two great houses that have been at war. The great house Exquisite laid the foundations of their empire by inventing technology that would almost decimate all European challengers coming from the West. 40 years later, the great house Citizen chose a different path, collaborating with the Westerners from Europe, laying the groundwork for what would be one of the most important advancements ever seen from any house, the ability to wield the sun. Each great house had their loyal subjects and fanatics. However, one could argue, the great House Exquisite continued to maintain a level of peaceful dominance over House Citizen. House Exquisite was, and still is, the people's champ, appealing to everyone, from the lords of the highest rank to laborers that work in the trenches.
絶望というやつは希望からのみ生まれる。だが人間、全く希望を持たずに生きるのも困難。つまり人は絶望とともに生きるほかないということだ。
何なんだてめえ。
House Citizen maintained their army despite the lack of any shogun and samurai in their company. Their navy was strong, but in tales as tall as these, wars are not won by sea alone. They needed someone on the ground, thus marks the beginning of the tale of our two brothers. The first brother, let's nickname him Mugan, has an unorthodox style and at first glance is unbalanced in his presentation. The look of his face is confused, full of randomness. Sometimes I question his maker. Why did you make him like this? But the best part about Mugan is he doesn't really care. His street style doesn't go for your eyes, he goes for your wrist. And you only really understand Mugan's full potential after getting to experience him. He's light on his feet, his lines are super precise, he doesn't scratch easy and can take a beating. His tolerances are tight. His beauty is only appreciated when looked upon in close distances. Once he's won you over, he's hard to let go or be left out of sight. Despite what could be lacking in his face guard, he's a great companion to have with you every day.
見せてもらおうか。無重心剣術、マリア円四郎を切った腕というものを。
なぜそのことを知っている？やはり抗議。
The second brother, let's nickname him Jin, was raised in and respects the old traditions, but is a bit of a rebel himself.
お前は私の手で切られる運命だ。
いいだろう。こちらこそその神の手とやらを見せてもらおう。
ああ、随分長く退屈してたところだ。
Jin is perfectly balanced. Jin doesn't care what day it is, he only cares about time perceived in that moment. Jin uses genjutsu in the form of concentric circles that are hypnotizing the deeper you look into his face. His style is more polished than that of Mugen's, but doesn't have as tight of atmospheric resistance due to the fact that he never left the dojo during his childhood. But what Jin lacks in resistance is made up for with style and appeal. Jin embodies strength and simplicity. His depth and flattery comes in the form of universal reliability. He is the perfect three-hander and will call to your attention without ever being ostentatious. Jin measures in at 40 millimeters in diameter, a thickness of 12 millimeters, a lug-to-lug of 51.7 millimeters, and no lug width because of the integrated bracelet design. I love the case, despite there being some obvious design cues from another very famous integrated sports watch. I didn't really love the Tsuyosa when it first debuted, but this small seconds version gives this watch its own identity, especially with the dial texture. I love the symmetry with the applied indices and overall layout. I love the concentric circle dial that replicates an almost guilloche pattern. It's hypnotizing and elevates this watch to look more expensive than it is. This watch features an exhibition caseback, exposing the in-house 8322 movement. Citizen upgraded the movement of the small second Tsuyosa to 60 hours of power reserve and added some cosmetic flair, making this movement actually quite pleasing to look at. The unsigned crown sits at the fore and is tucked inside the case a bit. It's a nice size and is easy to grip and turn, despite its position. I opted for the leather strap. It's very much acceptable, especially at the price. The leather feels great and conforms to the wrist easy. I have handled the bracelet that comes with the Tsuyosa, and it's decent. Mugan measures in at 40.5 millimeters in diameter, a thickness of 11 millimeters, and a lug-to-lug of 47.5 millimeters with the bracelet. Again, no lug width because of the integrated bracelet design. I must admit this watch is quite impressive, especially at the price point. The dial at first glance is completely random and unbalanced, but something I got quite used to and started to appreciate more, especially when I sat the two watches next to each other. The case and bracelet is made from Citizen Super Titanium, which Citizen claims to be 5 times harder than stainless steel and 40% lighter. Citizen coats their titanium with Duratect, which helps with its scratch resistance, rust resistance, and skin interaction. I personally dislike the feel of titanium. It feels chalky to me, but this is something I got over pretty quick after wearing it for a week. This watch is noticeably light and completely melts away on wrist. I put it through its paces and served as an excellent work watch while out in the field. The case of the Zenshin is done very well. I love the octagonal case shape. I love the polished bezels. I think Citizen made great design choices on how to execute where the polishing and brushing goes on the case. The dial layout of the Zenshin is unique. At first I didn't love it, but after wearing it for a week, it kind of grew on me. Now I can't really imagine the dial layout to be any other way than the way it came, so I guess it's a good design. The dial texture is nice, but I don't think it's Grand Seiko nice, but it's fun and more than acceptable. This blue dial variant comes with a black ring that coincides with the minute track along the outside of the dial. This is a nice touch and one of those subtle things that adds depth to the dial when looking down. The bracelet is legit despite having a stamped clasp. I love the design of the links, and I think it ties together the whole look of the watch. The unsigned, polished crown is set at the 3 and is easy to grip and turn. The Zenshin houses the in-house 8213-21A caliber. It's a 40-hour power reserve and has a nice sandblasted gold PVD finishing when viewed through the exhibition caseback. Something I forgot to mention is that both the Zenshin and the Tsuyosa feature flat sapphire crystals. It's obvious what's going on here and why Citizen jumped in to grab a piece of the market share. The PRX blew up, but for good reason. It's a nice watch, even with plastic gate. What you get with the PRX is a longer power reserve, better bracelet, more sizing options, and a richer heritage. The one big trade-off you gain siding with the Tsuyosa is price. Either way you go, I think you're getting a nice watch, but if you decide to go Tsuyosa, I say get the small seconds version. Comparing the Zenshin to the PRX is where it gets a little bit more tricky. Both of these watches have amazing pros and cons, and they are closer in price point. If one of your main points of consideration for a watch is the weight, then the no-brainer choice is the Zenshin. But if you already have a sports watch you love and just want something that leans a little bit more dress, I say go with the PRX. I love the 12 and got to handle one at the Atlanta Intersect Watch Show. If you're willing to spend around $1,000 on a watch and want that 70s style integrated bracelet design, I think the 12 from Christopher Ward is a no-brainer. It's no secret that Citizen has been in their bag lately. The Fugu will always be there as a staple, but there was nothing else in their lineup that was really drawing me towards them. The version 1 Tsuyosa was nice, but the timing of the release was giving too much loud Oyster Perpetual vibes, or hey, let's make a PRX clone type of thing. But with this new small second Tsuyosa, I felt as if Citizen wanted to take it a step deeper into creating something new. I felt like they wanted to make something that actually captured us in our hearts and not our wallets. And once the Zenshin arrived, I knew it was a wrap. I think Citizen knew they made something special that the community would latch onto, and I'm happy they made something that's so easy to talk about because it's a great watch. and something I will most definitely suggest to my friends that's looking for something around the $500 to $600 price point. There isn't really anything negative to say about these releases. Sure, the Tsuyosa could do better about its water resistance, maybe the movement accuracy could be tightened up a bit, maybe the Zenshin mechanical dial could have been a little less random, but it's okay. We're at a point now where watch collecting and shopping is almost endless, but if you like these and they seem like a good fit for your life, I'm here to say that you can't go wrong with either of them because they are both great watches. They'd be amazing additions to your collection, and the best part is that they won't break the bank. Good watches don't need some elaborate lineage or some long-winded heritage to back up their claims. Sometimes it could be something as simple as a good design with a nice spec sheet. We are the main characters of our story, and we all collect and acquire things differently. Some of us approach it like looking for buried treasure. Some of us approach it like Pokemon. For some of us, it's calculated, and for some of us, it's emotional and on a whim. Any which way it goes, there is no wrong way. Your collecting journey is yours and yours alone. In the end, the two brothers did what they needed to do to bring some notoriety back to House Citizen. It's too early to tell whether or not these watches will be future classics, but it's a great start, going in a great direction, and I'm personally excited to see what Citizen is going to do in the years to come. Cheers.